Joined by Candace Owens. Candace, you're our newest colleague here at the Daily Wire. We're excited to have you. My first question is, I know you've only been here for a few days, but who's your favorite coworker here at the Daily Wire?
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
That is a really good question. I'm going to have to go ahead and say the makeup artists.
As long as you didn't say Michael Knowles or one of the other hosts, that's fine. That's what I was worried about. How do you? So you got to Tennessee. I talked to you off air last week, and you were talking about your experience driving here with a baby. And I did that with 4 kids, so I know a little bit about that. You've been to Tennessee. Have you assimilated into the culture yet? I mean, the pickup truck, the cowboy boots, and all that. Have you done that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was actually the second day at Tennessee. My husband was like, we're doing 2 things. We're going to the gun shop, and we're going to go buy a pair of cowboy boots. Gun shop didn't go well because we still have our DC driver's license, so you have to have a Tennessee license to buy a gun, so we still have to wait for that. But it wasn't difficult to assimilate into the culture because I think actually that was my culture. Like, I'm conservative, right? So I was actually a fish out of water living in DC. Here, I'm like, this is great. Everybody thinks like me, so it's been awesome. I'm just happy to be in the South. It feels like this is where people are sane. And I mean, I guess you can't relate because you weren't in LA, but Daily Wire was in Los Angeles, and it really is the land of the living dead.
Are you serious?
Doing LA, New York, and DC.
Yeah. I was living in Pennsylvania. You had accused me of living in Canada, so that was, you'd spread a rumor online that I lived in Canada.
The internet spread that rumor, and I believed it.
The internet spread it because you said it. So
it was QAnon stuff. It was like Matt Walsh lives in Canada. And I fell for it. I don't know, internet's a dangerous place.
To this day, the worst insult anyone has ever leveled at me is being a Canadian. So I want to talk about your show. We'll talk about your show in a minute. But first, just to go over some of the stuff happening in the news, want to get your thoughts on a few of it. I guess we have to begin with the royal family because that's what everyone's talking about. I know you've been...
I've been very vocal.
You've been on top of it. So I have two questions. And the first one is a serious question because I really am hoping you can shed some light on this. Why does anyone care about these god-awful people? So we'll start with that. Why do you think people care that much?
Wait for it.
So I have to say, I never had an appreciation for the royals, right? It's something that Americans don't really jive with. It never made sense to me. But I fell in love and married an Englishman, right? And so I kind of learned to appreciate the significance of the Queen.
Oh my God!
And really understanding that there's been something in their country that has remained solid and has not changed over time. Difficult for Americans to comprehend because we don't really do tradition. We're kind of like tear it down, old building, tear it down, build something new, tear it down, build something new. So that's the reason I think why people follow the royals. Now, I don't care at all for the Harry and Meghan thing, except for the political undertones of somebody saying, I'm not liked, therefore it's because I'm 25% black.
That doesn't make sense.
Like that stuff bothers me, whether we're talking about Democrats saying it, we see that pollution all throughout Hollywood. So this Hollywood star going into a country that really sort of loves its tradition.
Okay.
And then accusing them of being fundamentally racist. It's just like, let's keep the American BS race narrative at least within the bounds of America. Let's not extend it overseas to Europe because they have a different culture there. They've been around much longer. England never had slaves in its country. And by the way, in terms of worldwide slavery, the Englishmen were the first to abolish it. So she's sort of relying on American ignorance and the race obsession in America and extending it overseas. It's really bothersome. It's irksome.
So do you think...
Are you serious?
The American media running to Meghan Markle's defense, do you think part of that is how they detest tradition in general, and so they don't like the royal family for that reason?
Yeah, I mean, think about where we are right now in America, right? That is sort of this cultural Marxist, everything that is from yesterday is wrong and needs to be torn down. Everything about America is wrong. We got to get rid of Christopher Columbus. Dr. Seuss is racist. So we are just obsessed with thinking that everything from the past is wrong. And sure, there were elements of the past that were definitely wrong.
Stop it.
But in many ways, we've thrown out the baby with the bathwater. And England is just a different place, right? I mean, their population, there's only 3% black people in England. It's a remarkably, compared to America, a very small country. And so it just sends, it's so ignorant. It's just the height of ignorance to me to have this D-list actress that nobody knew go over there. Not her race is not discernible by the eye. If she walked in,
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
you would never say Meghan Markle is a black woman, right? And then she says her son, who, if you've seen a picture of, and you think that he has faced anti-black racism in his life, then I'm a Nigerian prince. And I have, an account that you can give, you can send some money into. And it's frustrating. I think we're just tired of the race narrative here in America, and it's just obnoxious that we sent this girl over here to start the same thing overseas.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that you said 25% black, right? Is that the actual?
Meghan is less than 50% black. Her mother is half black. Yes, she's less than 25% black. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had the same experience when we first.
Are you serious?
Started hearing about her, and we heard that this racism against a black woman. My first experience was is she a black woman?
Yeah, exactly.
So it does make it a little bit hard to believe, but I think, doesn't it tell you something about the way the victimhood hierarchy works on the left? And it's a really confusing intersectionality, as you know, is very confusing. But the reason why this woman is able to make a victim of herself, even though she's fabulously wealthy and she's in her 18,000 square foot mansion, and she's got her Netflix deals and everything, and she's sitting on a patio more expensive than my house and talking to Oprah and all that, she's still the victim,
right?
Because she's less white than the other ones,
right?
And so that it's all about the intersectionality.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and it's the same thing I say to my husband. So I now have a half black, half white son, and I always say to my husband, "Is he half privileged or half oppressed? Like, what is he, oppressed or privileged?" This is sort of the weird thing.
Fact.
And she never, throughout her life, she never presented as black. It wasn't like she was playing black characters or wanted people to identify her as black. But it became convenient for her when she realized, okay, the entire United Kingdom hates me. I'm not a very likable person. And the elements that they hated about her are the elements that I think conservatives hate about Hollywood, right? Where she just wanted to be the center of attention at all times, and she couldn't respect tradition. And then she goes around and says, okay, well, how can I make the American
Very good question.
press love me, since I've been sort of chased out of the country because no one likes me there? And the obvious thing for her was, I'm in Hollywood, so I'm going to take, the race narrative. And it's just pathetic. You're wealthy. By the way, even if you weren't, sometimes in life, people don't like you. I know. You can Google my name. You know what I'm saying? I've got tons of hit pieces against me. I've never once read those hit pieces and said, well, it's clear they don't like me because I'm black. It's sometimes people don't like you. Deal with it.
How do you think with the victimhood hierarchy? Because I'm always fascinated by this.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
We know that she can put herself on it for the racial issue, but I can never quite figure out on the left, who are the uber victims? Who's at the top of the hierarchy? I think it's probably LGBT, trans. Is that what it is? But it seems to change depending on who the person is.
Yeah, it's weird. So the trans stuff, what I've noticed is it does seem like, okay, they are the biggest victims.
Are you serious?
But that's actually not true, because Black Americans, by and large, do not support the trans agenda. That's actually being pushed by wealthy white people. So it's very interesting to try to discern, even now, when you see like a big race scandal and you'll be like, oh, this person was... Her own wedding dress designer agreed, Kate had added. Meg asked if Kate was aware of what was going on right now with her and her father. Oh, so that's great. So Meghan has obviously fumbled the ball, has not set up this time for this dress to be tailored. It's T-minus a couple of days until the wedding. Rather than saying, I'm sorry I fumbled this, how can we fix it? Meghan then says, don't you know what else I'm going through? Me and my dad are fighting in the public right now. This is because this is what her and Harry do. They don't ever want to take responsibility for anything that they do. And so they mind...
Are you serious?
Some other emotion that's going on and going, hey, I can't be at fault for anything. Me and my dad are fighting. Don't you see that? Don't you see that I have a lot going on right now? This is why I failed to communicate to you regarding a tailor and your daughter's dress. This is why I failed to answer your message when you reached out about your daughter's dress. Kate said she was well aware, but the dresses and the wedding is in just 4 days. Yes, Kate, I know, says Meghan. And Kate had other problems with the way that Meg was planning her wedding.
What?
Something about a party for the Page boys. The Page boys, half the kids in the wedding are from North America. They haven't even arrived yet. It went back and forth. I'm not sure what else to say. If the dress doesn't fit, then please take Charlotte to see AJ. He's been waiting all day. That's from Meghan. Kate replies, fine. This is where the narrative continues. Harry writes, a short time later, I arrived home and found Meg on the floor sobbing.
Are you serious?
Meg is a 40-year-old woman. Why is Meg on the floor sobbing after having a back-forth text message with her to-be sister-in-law about a dress? Why? Why would you be on the floor sobbing over a bridesmaid's dress because you fumbled the ball? I was horrified to see her so upset, but I didn't think it was a catastrophe because it wasn't, Harry. Your wife is just melodramatic. Emotions were running high, of course. After the stress of the last week, the last month, the last day, it was intolerable, but temporary. Kate hadn't meant any harm, I told her. I mean, can you actually believe that this made it into his book? A squabble over a 7-year-old in her bridesmaid dress that Harry thought that it was appropriate to hang his niece out to dry as being upset for wearing a bridesmaid dress, something that was a private communication about something that is so innocuous.
Stop it.
As whether or not her dress was tailored correctly, because they're trying to make it seem to paint Kate into a bad light. That's exactly what Harry's trying to do. And every single incident that I have seen throughout this book is this petty. It's this petty. It's small.
Fact.
It's petty, and they hold on to it, and then they sell it for $25 million to a book publisher so that they can make the royal family look bad. And so I put together, by the way, this was just off the top of my head right before I came out here, just how many times I've heard,
Wait for it.
that Meghan was crying, that she was in a heap, that she was in a pile on the floor. So we know she cried over the bridesmaid dresses. We know that she admitted publicly that she cried the night before the Oprah interview premiered. The interview that she orchestrated, that she shot, that she sat down and accused the world